welcome to Revelations of a Delusional Knitter. I'm Angela, your host. This is episode 103. That doesn't sound right. Why do I think it's 104? I think it's 104, and I didn't update my show notes. And it is Friday, October 17th, 2014. I should have looked. I'm pretty sure it's 104. Whatever. The title will be correct when I figure it out. Welcome if you are new. If you are returning, I thank you as always. And either way, I hope you enjoy and continue to watch the podcast. If you are on iTunes, if you could please leave a star rating and or review, I would appreciate it. It's also available on YouTube and the blog at delusionalknitter.com. And there's a Ravelry group, so if you're a member of Ravelry, that was almost tough to get out, please come by and say hello and join the group. Week in review. It was another week at work where I was just like, I'm so done. What the problem is that the shift I work 3 to 11 is the busiest shift. You know, that's when people are coming home from work. That's when a lot of stuff happens, and it gets nuts sometimes. And they want to have 3 people on the shift, but there's not enough staff. So there are 2 days where there's only 2 of us. And one of the things I think that they did by accident, but have left it now, is that there's 3 of us that are new on this shift and 1 that's been there for years. And when I worked for somebody else for 2 months on 11 to 7 while he was out on leave, when they switched me back, they left me in the day off group I was in for him, and they switched another person back to another day off group, which was my original one. I think they messed up. But what that did was it put the senior person always with 3 people, and 2 newer people alone by themselves for 2 days. And I think it would have been better to have even the 3 new people on. So, yeah. And what happens is we answer 911. We answer the business telephone because apparently a while back they tried to use one of the automated telephone tree things where you can pick an extension, but it was too confusing for people. So they went back to live, we just answer the phone. We have people in the lobby, we have officers on the radio, and all this stuff all at the same time. So what happens is sometimes on 3 to 11, all of that stuff I just said, all happens at the same time. So it gets really nuts. And there's priorities. The radio is a priority, 911 is a priority. So there are many, many times where somebody's at the window and you just have to go, I'll be right back, and you have to run away, or if you're on the regular phone, you don't even have time for them to acknowledge, because 911 we have to answer in 3 rings. So you just have to go, I gotta put you on hold, and you just gotta click the button and put them down. So it gets crazy, 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 crazy. And this week, one of the days was just absolutely insane for hours at a time. It was just crazy. So I am very happy to be off today, and 2 days is probably not enough, but oh well. At least my first 2 days on is when we have the 3 people, so, you know, those are easier than the days with only 2, so I'll have 2 days off and then 2 days with 3 people, so, yeah. That's what I felt like this week. And then this morning, this has nothing to do with work, but I was sitting in here, enjoying my coffee, knitting on something, and I hear this terrible, horrible squeaking out there in the hallway. And sometimes the cats get mice, because we live in the woods, and sometimes mice get into the house because they can fit in a crack this big, you know, and they just slip in different places around the foundation. And sometimes they make their way up here from the basement, and this was really loud squeaking though, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not a mouse. So I went running out there, and the 2 boys are looking under a piece of furniture, and then I see Willow, our tiny little baby girl cat, trotting away with her head held high with a brown ball this big to her head. Is a chipmunk. She had a chipmunk. Chipmunk is like the size of her head. I don't even know how she was carrying this thing. So I chased them into the living room, and she dropped it, but it was behind a chair. So I was trying to get it, and then it ran across the living room under one of the cat scratching post things, and Nico was after it, so I'm yelling at them. Not yet. I don't scream at them because they're not really doing anything wrong. They're cats. They're supposed to catch furry critters that come into the house, but I just do the, just to startle them so that I can get in there. So I startled Nico enough that he backed off for a second, and the Chippy ran straight into our other bathroom. And I ran over there and I shut the door. So then I got all the cats and I put them in the other bathroom, which is their bathroom. That's where their food and litter box is. And I got a bucket and I went in there, and that's my husband's bathroom. It's the smaller bathroom. And he has, so it's like shower, toilet, his laundry basket, and then the sink. And I didn't see a Chippy anywhere. So I'm like, he's got to be in the laundry because the laundry was spilling over from the hamper. And so I'm over there like gingerly picking up items and shaking them. I finally found him at the bottom. And I was trying to scoot him into a bucket, but they jump. So I'm trying not to startle him too much because I don't want him jumping on my head. And he finally ran and jumped into the bathtub, which was still damp from my husband taking a shower this morning, so he had no traction. I was able to scoop him into a bucket and bring him outside. But, oh, God. He looked completely unscathed, I think, because Willow's so tiny and Chippies are pretty big. I think she just had him scruffed when she was carrying him around the house, and I don't think she did any damage because he looked perfectly fine. I looked him over quickly before I let him go, and he looked fine, and he hopped away outside. So I like living in the woods. I like wildlife outside. I do not like it in my house. Yes. That's the, third or fourth chipmunk we've had in the house over the years. Oy. One of them didn't make it, and it was downstairs, and we found out a couple of days later because of the smell, if you get what I'm saying. It's a horrible smell, and it took us a while to actually find it because the smell is so horrible. When you're standing there, you're like, I have to be on top of it. This is such a terrible smell that I must be right next to it. And we finally found it downstairs in one of the spare bedrooms. But, yeah. So that was my morning this morning. And then I went out and ran some errands and did some shopping. Now I'm doing laundry and everything else around the house before I decided to record. And then I'll finish up my chores after I record this. But, yeah, that was my morning. It's lots of fun. All right, revelations. I'm still working on the Master Hand Knitter program. I haven't actually touched it at all, so I still have that one swatch to do, and I have to finish up the mitten. February lady sweater I also haven't touched. Are you sensing a theme here? Socks I also haven't touched. Loopy Academy, I am done with my cowl project, and it's blocked. I blocked it the other day. It's finally dry today. However, I cannot show it to you because that's the one I designed that currently a mystery knit along is going on for. I can't show that to you. There is a coupon code. If you're interested in doing the mystery knit along, the pattern's going to be $5. There's a coupon code for 50% off until the 22nd of October if you want to join the mystery knit along. And all that's on the Ravelry board. You can check that out. Loopy Academy. So that's the cowl is done. So now I'm going to cast on for the hat. And spin a shawl, I have not started yet, and I haven't even wound up my yarn, which is over there. I showed all of this on the last podcast. String theory, spinning. So it recently was Spinzilla, and I'm very happy with my results. I did not accomplish what I set out to do, but that's okay. My plan was to spin up 2 4-ounce braids and ply them together. After day 2, I quickly realized that there was no way I was going to spin up 8 ounces in a week. So I just spun up 1 braid, plied it back on itself, and that's it. So this was Into the World Merino in the Follow the Butterflies colorway. 2-ply, it's actually like a fingering weight, and I got 556 yards. And it came out awesome, and it's super soft and squishy. I have not washed it yet, but that's what I did up for Spinzilla, and I love it. And then I had leftover on 1 bobbin, so I just Navajo plied the rest back on itself, and this will go into the sock yarn blanket stash. And yeah, so I got 556 yards, which in Spinzilla equated to 1,736, I believe, because it's 556 times 3, because I have 2 plies of yarn, and I plied it. So each ply is 556, and then 556 went back through the wheel again to ply. And then with this little bit, which wasn't a ton, for a total, I ended up with, oh, I don't think I said that right. I think it was 1668 for that skein. For my total, it was 1736 with this added in. And for Spinzilla, the tagline is kind of spin a mile. I was only off by 24 yards. Ouch. Because initially I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to spin a mile in a week. I was awfully close. So, yay! With this, I am now up to 8 skeins for the year. And I wanted to spin up 12, one a month, because I have a humongous fiber stash. So I think I might be able to meet that goal. And on the Road Bug, because here's number 9 is almost done, I have that Ultrafine Merino from Manos de Uruguay that I only have the last third to do, and then I was going to 3-ply that, so that's almost done. I spun up almost 1/3 the other day, so not much left on that one. And then for Spindlemania group on Ravelry, I'm spinning up some BFL on Turkish spindle. Once I get more on it, there's not a ton on it, I'll show it on the next episode. So for Spinzilla, I spun 15 hours. I kept pretty good track. I have a little timer that I use for the podcast, so I know when the camera's going to shut off, because I can only record for so much time at a time. And I just hit that every time I sat down to spin, and if I got up or took a break, I just hit it again and then re-hit it to continue, and then I had a notebook and I just logged every time I had a session, and then I added it up at the end, and it was 15 hours. So yeah, that's what I mean by after day 2, I knew there was no way I was going to spin up 8 ounces. Scrolls. I still need to record this book review, like last week, but this week I'm going to do a Knitter's Gallery of Mitered Squares, so I will insert that here. This is a review of a Knitter's Gallery of Mitered Squares, 45 unique designs in color, texture, and lace, by Jill Bigelow Sattel and Jane Bigelow. It is published by Blue Cabin Press. The ebook version is $18.95. And the print plus ebook version is $26.95. To start, we have the table of contents here. This is just a traditional PDF. There are not links to click on, but it's still perfectly navigatable. It's got the page numbers there, and if you type them into the top of your PDF reader and hit enter, it'll go directly to that page, which is what I'm doing here. So the beginning, the basics, goes into mitered square basics, how to read charts. All of the designs in this book, there are no written instructions. They're all charted, but they're very simple charts, and they also explain to you at the beginning how to read a chart. There's an example of a chart, how to pick up squares. There's a couple different ways you can pick up depending on what you're doing. How to create edges, and how to convert squares to be able to fit them into a piece that you're working on, and also how to stack squares. So I'll show you a little bit of that. Here's the mitered squares basics. So it just explains to you what a mitered square is and how you can combine different patterns in this book. And as you can see, there's a graphical representation of what a mitered square is, as well as a knitted sample. How to read charts shows you how to read the charts for each of the square patterns in this book. And also each pattern has an adaptability rating, and what that is that if you can adjust the size, if you can adjust it to a certain multiple of stitches, and ones that are best left as they are because they're not very adaptable. And those are, I'll show you when I show you the actual squares, you'll see where the rating is. Here's a sample of what the charts look like that are in the book. And if you're not familiar with charts, the gray areas are no stitches, because you cast on the total number of stitches for a mitered square, and then you decrease it down to a point, and that's how they are constructed. And this is an example. These are what the charts look like in the book. They're very clean charts, they're very easy to read, they're nice and large, and that's definitely a plus. How to pick up a square, so it shows you different ways to pick up a square depending on where you're going at it from. how to pick up a square on point, so if you're making another square in between two squares that are already created. How to create edges, so if you are trying to fit squares into a piece and you need straight edges, how you can do that. And how to convert the squares so that they fit into a piece where you need them to, if you only need a part of a square to make an edge. And here's just the reverse of the other one we just saw. And here's the same thing, but it's, you know, at the top of squares. And how to stack squares, and how you should be stacking your squares if you're planning out something that you're doing. And then we're on to the actual squares. So there's 45 squares in here. This is color square number 1. And I'm just going to show you 3 from each section because there's a lot. If you're interested, if you go on Ravelry, you can see all of them on there. And there's that adaptability rating I was talking about. So it tells you how adaptable it is to other patterns. Here's another color one. This is really cool. Half and half. I like that a lot. And here is another one. Really, really cool. Kind of a striping pattern that they've got going on there. And here's some of the lace ones. Oh, sorry. Texture is first. Jumping ahead. There's a simple garter stitch one. Then they've also combined many different garter and stockinette. That looks really cool. And then there's another kind of a quilted looking stitch pattern. So there's way more than the 3 I'm showing you in each section, but these are just examples of what they have. And then there's the lace ones. Really cool. Different ways to combine lace and stockinette and garter in there. You've got everything in that one. And here's another one. Some really nice lace work on there. And there's another one. So really cool, very different ways to approach the mitered square. I really like this a lot. And these are the projects. There's a stole. And there's a table runner. And a vest. That's kind of a wrap almost. It is a vest. It has a full back, but it's pinned with a shawl pin to hold it closed. I'm sure you could also add buttons or whatever you like. And then here's another vest. Almost a sweater. It does have sleeves here. But really cool. I love the bottom, how it's got the mitered points on it. And then there's a glossary that goes into all the stitch definitions and everything that they're talking about. So technically, here's your written instructions. So if you're reading from the chart, these are all abbreviated, but if you come here to the glossary, it's got a written explanation of the actual stitch. And then some more glossary information, some more information on one of the patterns, and then the back of the book has information about the authors. So that is a Knitter's Gallery of Mitered Squares, published by Blue Cabin Press. Authors are Jill Bigelow Sattel and Jane Bigelow. It's a really neat little book. It's really adaptable. You can do all kinds of things with these patterns. You could make a throw, you could make scarves, you can make all kinds of things with this. That's our book review for this episode. So that's our book review. And there should be a giveaway. I'm not sure, because this one I'm not sure I don't think Cooperative Press published it. I'll check into it, and I'll put information on the board. But I think we can do a giveaway for this one. So it'll be like the other one. Don't forget to Sock Architecture. That giveaway, that thread's open for another couple of days. So if you haven't entered for that one, go check out the board. For Testaments, I have nothing. I don't have anything new this week to show you. So now we're on to Heresy. And one of the things why I have no knitting to show you, 2 reasons. 1, I'm test knitting a shawl for somebody. And 2, I had a couple of designs rolling around in my head that I had sketched out notes for. Oh, by the way, I love this. Is it this one? Yeah. I chart things out. on paper when I'm thinking about things, and then I put them into the computer. It's easier to chart out on paper first because you can erase things and tape them together and, put the whole thing together. And I write myself cryptic notes on these things, and there's a note on this chart, and I have no clue what I was talking about. I love it. So, yeah, I really need to get a little bit better organized with my designing, because I do things like that all the time. And the problem is I'll have an idea for something, but, I'm knitting other things, or I'm finishing up other designs, or whatever is going on. And then when I have time to work on that design, I'll pull out my papers and I'll read them, and I'll be like, I have no idea what I was talking about. What does that mean? So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So one of them, though, I'm knitting out of this lovely yarn, which is Swan Island, and the colors are absolutely gorgeous, but I must say, I was a little disappointed until I read the label closer, because what happens is these are all dyed with natural dyes. As I'm knitting with this, my hands look like I stuck them into the wood stove downstairs, like I mushed my hands around in soot. And I'm like, oh my god, when I wash this thing, is it even going to have any dye left on it? I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but these are bamboo needles. And if you look at them, see how they have a tinge on them of black? They have little black stains all over them? That's from the yarn. And my hands were covered in it. And then I read the label, and it said, right on the label, that we hand dye this 100% certified organic merino wool in small lots using all natural dyes. The result is richly variegated, uniquely beautiful yarn. Due to the natural properties of our dyes, some colors may rub off slightly. I was like, slightly? However, so once I read that, I was like, well, okay, well, that's what it says. And then one item is done. I'm waiting for it to block to see if I have to tweak the design at all, or if it's all set the way it is, if it blocked out the way I expected. I washed it and I saw nothing in the water. So the dye seems to be set perfectly fine. It just does rub off on your hands. I washed it cool water though, because that's what the label said, and no detergent. So, but it doesn't, I even rolled it in a white towel to squeeze out the water, and there was nothing on the towel. So I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it appears that it's going to stay and be fine. But I was a little concerned because I was like, as it's all over my hands, I'm like, when I wash this, what's going to happen? But it was fine. So yeah, it's a lovely yarn. It does say that on the label, so I don't know. But that one should be done soon. And then I'll start, I have a beaded shawl I really want to get working on for a design and some other things, but, there's only so many hours in a day. Alright. Hogwarts at Ravelry, I'm excited tomorrow. I can finally join in. Sorting starts tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. The seasonal sock center knit along on my board is still going this session until December 20th. There's a lot of great photos people are putting on there, in progress and finished ones. People are knitting some really awesome socks. And now we're on to Ravelry Patterns. I'm a little kooky today as usual. Oh, I forgot. I brought it out here. I wanted to show people. Since my cowl, the Astrid cowl, it's a mystery knit along, I have it's the same type of cowl. It's not, this is Summer Wind by Irish Girly Knits. In case you didn't know what I meant by infinity cowl, it means this. It's one of these, like Summer Wind. It's probably very similar dimensions to this. So it's a very, very long, big loop that you can wear long or double up on itself. That's what my mystery cowl is. That's what an infinity cowl is. So I just pulled this out to show people. That's what it is. It's kind of like this, but the stitch pattern is completely different. So, Ravelry Patterns. What have we got for today? The first one, I don't know that I'd ever want to knit this. It's absolutely gorgeous, but it looks extremely complicated. And maybe it's not. It's called Bedford Sweater. And it is in a bulky yarn though. Look at that. It's got all this wonderful textural design to it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And this is by Laura Zucchini, and it's $8, but it's a very, very intricate pattern. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Check that out. So, I don't know. I may think about it, but it's a little... looks really crazy. It's probably not either, right? It's probably just the stitch pattern makes it look really awesome, but yeah. The next one is... oh, this happened to me at work yesterday while I was on the phone with somebody. I had that like tickle in your throat where you can't even talk and your eyes are watering, and it's happening again now. Love and Madness by Simone Carrot. This one's $7 and it's a shawl. Absolutely gorgeous. This photo is what intrigued me, but I'll show you it laid out flat so you can see the pattern. And I love the colors. I'm not a red person, but that looks really awesome. And, why did I just close that? This is a fingering weight yarn. Let me find one where it's stretched out so you can see it. There we go. Yeah. Very interesting, very different from your usual shawl where, you know, most of the lace work is at the bottom. So that one's really cool. And then the last one I have is Lily's Butterflies by Sarah Elizabeth Kellner, and it's $2.50, and she had a lot of little animal patterns. She has a ton of them, but this was so cool because it really looks like a butterfly. So there's one, and I'll show you a picture with other types of butterflies. Really cool. Like I said, she's got a whole bunch of different animals, little animals, and most of them are, you know, $1.50 or $2 for the patterns. Yeah, here's a bunch of different ones in different colors and stuff. So that's what I found today when I was preparing for the podcast. And now we're on to Delusional Jabber. And what do I have in there? I haven't been doing much. I'm still on Allegiant by Veronica Roth, and I don't want to give any spoilers away if you're interested in reading that series, but something happened in the third book that I did not think was going to happen. And that was kind of the climax, and then I stopped. I only have like 7% left to read, so I'll probably finish that tonight. But after that big, huge thing, I was like, oh! And I kind of set it down for the night and went to bed. That's what I love to read before bed, but sometimes you'll read a book that has like a humongous climax or something very tragic happens, and then you're like, I'm gonna go to sleep? I don't see that happening. So I was up for a little while after that. Watching TV before I finally fell asleep. And that series was very good, though. I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm not sure what I'm going to read next, because now it's the 17th. I was talking about that Ravelry book group, but I'm not sure I can finish the October book if I start it now. I'll have to look at it and see how long it is, but I might wait until November to join up on their list. And then for TV... again, I'm like not watching any TV, because what happens is I get up at like 9:30, 10, and I come in here and I watch some podcasts and do some stuff and I knit, and then I hop in the shower at like 1:30, and then I go to work, and then I get home at 11, I come back in here and like knit for an hour, and then I go to bed. And I'm so not caught up on TV shows right now, it's ridiculous. Walking Dead, always caught up on. And the first episode was excellent. My husband watches that too. He does not watch a lot of TV, but I totally got him into that show. Because he didn't start until like the third or fourth season. Maybe the third season. Totally got hooked. And Doctor Who. I will always be caught up on that. I might have one episode to watch. I usually wait until there's like 2 or 3, and I'll watch them together. But yeah, those two always caught up on. Oh, and Big Bang Theory. I don't think I mentioned that on the last episode. I watched a couple of those, the new episodes, and that's really good. I'm really surprised after all this time that they're still able to be that funny. Even though all the characters have changed dramatically and the relationships between them have changed dramatically, it's still a very, very funny show. If you watch that, the one episode that cracked me up, Stuart, the comic book store guy, is staying with Howard's mom because the comic book store burned. And Howard was all upset that his mom got cable because he's like, I lived there for 20-something years. She never got me cable. Now they have 7 HBOs. And he said, if you watch the show, you know, Howard always mimics his mom's voice. And he says, oh, I cringe when I think of them sitting there watching Game of Thrones and my mom going, Howard, which one's Thrones? That just cracked me up. Oh, it's so funny. So, yeah, Big Bang Theory also caught up on. And I think that might be it for this episode. I have to go do the book review and finish all my chores for today. I still have tomorrow off, which is awesome, but my husband had to get a rental car this week because I work at 3, and he works several towns away. The subframe in his car broke off, like rusted off or rotted off or something. So his car was completely undrivable. And I'm like, well, I don't know what we're going to do because I have to be to work at 3. So we had to rent a car. His subframe got delivered today and is in the back of my truck. So I think tomorrow we have to go drop it off with our mechanic so that he can, you know, put it in. So tomorrow I'm going to be a little traveling, and because our mechanic is over by where we used to live. It's like 45 minutes away. Going to be a little traveling and stuff tomorrow, so I won't have the whole day to myself. So that's also why today I'm trying to get all my chores done. I went to Walmart and got some staples that I needed and stuff like that. And by staples I mean coffee and Cheez-Its, because I eat those at work all the time. I've completely converted the entire police department to eating Cheez-Its, by the way. And they all blame it on me. And every time they walk by, somebody will have a little Ziploc baggie with their Cheez-Its, and they'll go, look what she did. And they'll point at me. I got everybody eating Cheez-Its. It's like the best snack ever, right? Cheez-Its are the best snack ever. And nowadays, Cheez-Its come in all kinds of flavors now. All kinds of fancy stuff. So, yeah, everybody at work eats Cheez-Its now. And that's part of my staple. Because the box I have at work has crumbs in the bottom, so I need another box for work. So I got 2. And, yeah. So I hope, it rained all day yesterday. It was really crappy. It got really warm. It was like 80 this week. It's mid-October. So, it's been nice out, except for the rain. I hope you have some nice weather. And I hope you're enjoying your knitting and spinning. If you spun for Spinzilla, come on over to the board and the post. I have a thread in there for that. You can show what you spun in Spinzilla if you want. And I think that's it for this episode. Not entirely sure when the next date for recording is. Oh, don't forget tomorrow, October 18th, if you're not going to Rhinebeck, there's going to be another virtual knit night starting at 6:30 Eastern Time. So come and join that if you can. It's on Google Hangouts, and I'll put the link to the Hangout on the Ravelry board for the podcast. And that's it. So I thank you for joining me. I hope you've had a wonderful 10 days since I recorded last. And happy knitting and spinning.